What's up? Got one of these here. Let's get it out of this box. Check it in so we can check it out. And it is a behemoth. Okay. This is an oily, big monster of a carbon fiber, titanium pocket clip. I'd flip that, but it's awful oily, so I think I'm going to wipe it off before I do that. But this is a TS333. So a fairly new model, but I do believe I remember this coming out quite a while back. Like when the 300s first started hitting, I think this was one of the ones that was dropping. Let's get in here. There's only one way in. Like there's no getting any of that. So it's just front flipper. And it's high. It's way up on the top there. So definitely it's a over the top. Woo! Detent all day long. Okay, maybe I'm going to pull that out first and see what's going on. Maybe it's just the way I was doing it. Doesn't feel, I mean, it feels perfectly tight. Not overly tight. Look at this blade. Wow. TS333 and 14C28N. And that's a Antimonov. I'm sure I'm not saying that right, but yeah, it's a little bound up. There it is. I think technique's got a lot to do with this, but I do feel the detent. Okay. Yeah, that's about a half of a meat cleaver. All right, well, let's get in it. Let's get it apart, check it in, and then we'll finish checking it out. We'll really check that action and ergonomics and all that once we get it cleaned up, because it is definitely oily and dirty. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of one screw into carbon fiber or G10 or micarta, but I will say that the shape helps that because it's basically a square. So the shape itself, like if it was round at all, I mean, that'd be a horrible design, but because it's square like that, it might survive. I mean, until it didn't survive, we'll just claim it that it's gonna. It's kind of one of those things I'm not going to predict a problem. I just mentioned that it could be one. So I'm pretty sure there's got to be screws underneath these scales because that still feels fairly secure. So let's get them scales off. And of course, they're T6s. And, ooh, they were tight, or at least that one has. Pretty fair-sized hardware, just a small head. There we go. All right, what's underneath that scale? Besides oil. You think there's oil in there? What do you think, man? Yeah. Of course, the problem with that is, I mean, if you watch the channel, you know what I'm about to say, but if you're new to the channel, the problem with all that oil underneath that scale, that's why it's one of the reasons you have to take these knives apart, is because when you're squeezing that grip, that oil will work its way out from underneath that scale. And then it's in your pocket, it's on your hand, not good. So, yeah, I mean, it's completely, all the parts and pieces are falling apart now. And then there's the tiniest little bit of oil on the bearing. And of course, those are captured underneath that scale. And based on the amount of oil we saw under the first one, There is no way we're not getting in here. We're definitely going to get in there and clean that up. Nice carbon fiber. And Twosun's carbon fiber is legit. Like it's, I've never seen it where it was suspect or not good carbon fiber, missing, big chunks or whatever. I mean, it's quality stuff. And the fit and finish here, the transition from the titanium to the carbon fiber, solid, really tight. How about on this end too? Here, let me get some focus. So the fit and finish of that scale up against that titanium, very nice. See if I can get under that. There we go. Yeah, it's just sucked down on there because of all the oil created tension. Get that pin, and so I had I think a subscriber, but somebody watching the channel mentioned to me about taking these out with a screwdriver, and so I try to get them out with a magnet now, like that, versus digging a screwdriver in there. So I appreciate, the point of saying that is, I read the comments. I'm stupid. I know very little. So without a doubt, with y'all watching, I'm going to learn. And truth is, I'm just doing what I like to do. I collect these knives, and I like to check them in and get excited about them. And yeah. So this blade is stained, and I've seen a lot of blades coming through lately with this stain on them. Well, I did reach out to D-Win and say, hey, I've got some stained blades. This one's been sitting in a box here for quite a while, so I'm not concerned with it being over, a certain amount of time or whatever, because he'll respond. But he's had me do two things to try to clean these up. And the first one is use WD-40 on it. And then the second is to try to clean it in really hot water. And so I'm going to pause the video and see if I can't clean this off, and so that you can see what happens. But then when I can't get it off, he's always made me whole, like another knife or a discount on this particular knife. So I'm not concerned about it either way, but let me try to get it off real quick. Okay, so as you can see, it is markedly better from the hot water and the WD-40. Yeah. So I'll monitor the progress of this, and we'll see where we go. But like I say, it's not the first time I've had this etching, whatever it is, wherever it comes from. I'm not really sure. Some kind of etching, and I don't know if it's from the oil sitting on the knife in transportation, or again, I don't know. So, anything I say about it is off track, man, because I have no idea what's causing that. But I do know that I've had nothing but good experiences working with D-Win on eBay and purchasing. Is it inconvenient? You buy a knife and then it's not quite right, and then you got to deal with him, and it could take another month, to get a replacement knife or whatever, and you've already waited, and so all of that. Well, yeah, that's all part of it. But again, for me personally, one, I have an extensive Twosun collection. And so it's not like at this point I'm going to fall out and not continue to collect them, because I'm gonna. And the other side of it is what I pay for these knives. Now, granted, I mean, if I paid $20 for a knife, I'd still want good service and, so I'm not saying that you shouldn't get what you pay for if it's cheap. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that at all. And when I say cheap, I mean inexpensive. But what I'm saying is, when I'm getting a very nice knife for a very reasonable price, sometimes time can be a factor there. So if I got to wait for it, and if there's something wrong, I mean, it's no secret that I'm buying these from a seller that's shipping them from China. So they're not, it's not my local sporting goods store where I can just pop down there and go, hey man, look at this, I want a different one. Like you got to know what you're getting into up front. And so then to encounter a problem and be frustrated because of the time factor doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, well, I mean, you got to know what you're getting into, I guess is my thing. And, I get it. I'm buying it from China. And if there's something wrong with the knife, which could happen, I mean, I buy knives from the United States and there's stuff wrong with them. And, no matter who I'm buying it from, I mean, I've shipped knives back from, to a lot of the major distributors. And I don't need to go naming them, but, it's not rare to get a production item that's got some kind of flaw in it or a defect, and then you got to deal with them, and man, that's across the table. So I'm not saying that it should be acceptable or anything of the sort. I'm just saying that when it happens, I don't freak out because I mean things happen, and I get it. Am I excusing bad quality? No, I'm not saying that either. Should they pick up their quality and make sure that everything's leaving their place correct? Sure. But if I encounter something, the time factor doesn't make me lose my mind because I mean I get it. They're in China, man. And if I expect to get a perfect $50 knife, I think my expectations are a little skewed. I mean, well, let me change how I just said that. I mean, of course, I expect it to be perfect, but I've said it before, man. I guess the expectations got to be in line with what you're getting. I mean, I've got some high end knives, and my expectations are different than what they are for if I spend $300 on a knife. I mean, I'm just telling you, my expectations of the fit, the finish, the quality of the product, the sharpness of the blade, even, my expectations change. They just do. Yeah, that was silly. Got internal screws under this scale. I'm talking more than I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. It's like chewing bubble gum and walking at the same time. It's a stretch for me. All right, let's get back and do this right. Let's start with this captured pivot, and then I want this pin. Good grief. Listen, that's why you're going to get quiet time in my videos, because I got to pay attention to what I'm doing sometimes, man. Get me started. But anyways, to summarize, I've had a good experience when I encounter things with Twosun knives with the seller. I've had a reasonable experience of customer service, And I don't expect for that to change. Things are going to come up, and when they do, I communicate well. I feel like they communicate well. And if I send a message to DWin99, I don't know that I've ever gone more than 24 or 48 hours without a response. Like a direct response. Hey, can we try this? Hey, have you tried that? Okay, would you accept it? Like really timely responses, and I'm happy with the customer service that I get from them. But I think my expectations are reasonable too. Like, I mean, I deal with the public, and I have most of my career, and I can tell you that I have definitely gotten to a place in my career, in my life, where I don't, how do I put this? Unreasonableness gets put in its place pretty quick. Because what am I missing now? Those internal screws again. What am I doing? See, I'm talking again, man. Just settle down, brother. Put the knife together, and y'all got to sit through it. I'm pretty sure it's not like clown funny to y'all. Y'all aren't, oh, this is hilarious. This dude's a mess. No, it's just I want to get the knife together and watch it run. And stupid, man. Pay attention, brother. That's what you get in return, man. I'm going to get the knife together, but I'm just going to sit here quietly and do my work. And I've said it. Like, this is just what I do. Whether I did YouTube channel or not, I would have taken this knife apart, and I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Except I'd be quiet. I wouldn't be talking because I'll be talking to myself, which is kind of comical in itself because I am talking to myself. You're not here. Stupid, man. But anyways, I dig it. YouTube, my channel has enhanced my knife collecting. It has, I don't know, it's added something to it. Getting to have conversations about stuff that I would have normally just sat here in silence, and and then I run the action and talk to myself like some weirdo. Smooth. Ooh, I like that click. Yeah. Dumb. Okay. I think we finally did things right. No play in that blade whatsoever. Let's see where we're at. Oh man, we're right on the edge of drop shut. Yeah, I'm not going to change a thing. Okay. Goodness grief. Good grief. What the heck is going on, man? All right. I'm going to give that blade a quick wipe. Yeah, so most of that stuff is gone. I see a little bit of it, very little. But that standard 14C satin finish is all on there. It's really attractive, really looks good. But I do see some of that etching, some of that stain etching on there. Yep. Let's run into action a few times. Really smooth, drop shut. It's a big knife, so this flipper action forces me and my hand. I mean, I don't think I have a small hand, but I have a large hand. I got to get that pocket clip right and then create some leverage, but I gotta get up on the knife a little bit. Yeah, you'd think that flipper would be awesome, but in fact, well, all right, I think I'm figuring it out. I just got to get the side of my thumb completely on there and then run that over. So it's definitely one of those to get it figured out for sure. Ergonomics. So this corner's kind of sharp. I feel it. Could easily be rounded off, but it's pressing in, up here in my palm on a tight grip. Yeah, that thing's right there digging in. But good grip. I mean, the contours of this really lend itself to get your hand in there. The pocket clip, although it's visible there, it's not hot or uncomfortable. There's some jimping up here, but I think that's really just a continuation of the flipper tab on the back here. It's pretty nice jimping. It bites pretty good on that flipping action. Yeah. I'm not going to call this, it's not a, so if this is confident, this is not so confident, and this is very confident, we're leaning more towards here, down here in this not very confident grip. And the reason is there's just nothing to lock you in here. I mean, it's all just hand strength. You get a wet hand or something and you're really working this knife and your grip, you could come loose if you were going forward with this, which it's not much of a forward facing knife. But if you were and you met resistance, the odds are your fingers are going to come up over that blade and you're going to be cut in a bad way. So not a very confident grip. But as far as being a slicey knife, I think we're going to see that this is probably really good for that. But overall, pretty cool on the ergonomics. Let's check that pocket clip. So big thick pants right here. Yeah, I mean, it runs really nice. Got a good profile. It does show a fair piece of that blade, about ½ an inch or more. Runs really well on that thick material. It's got a good grip. It's smooth against that carbon fiber. I like it. Nice. And it's got a good look to it. It's got a couple of little mill marks in there. Yeah, cool. This is standard jean size material. Let's run it in there. That would definitely be one hand in and out. And it's got a good bite. I mean, it's bit in there. This is my favorite spot, back right hand pocket towards the front. And man, it would ride really well in there. So I like it. The pocket clip's good to go. Let's check it for safety. And what I mean by safety is can you reasonably put this in your pocket and not expect to contact the tip or the back of the blade through the scales. So let's check the tip. I mean, it's really close down in there, but there's no way to contact that. So that's a pass. Let's check this blade on the back in between the scales. And I got to tell you, just looking at it from a distance, I think I'm going to touch that blade. We'll see. I mean, I do, but it's very slight. I am making contact with just the very top of that. I mean, so the question is, I mean, there's no flipper tab, so it's not like you would slip off a flipper tab and then catch your finger on the blade there. And even so, I'm not really touching that. So the only way to contact that would be to come into the pocket space from here and catch that. And I will tell you, going like this with hardly any pressure, I'm touching that blade. So if you came in there hard, you could cut yourself. So I'd just say be warned there. I'm going to say, yeah, I mean, the way I'm touching it there, I'm going to say that's a fail, man. If I can touch it, I can touch it. I can definitely touch that blade. I don't know why I was so reluctant to just say that, but the front passes and the pocket clip passes. I wonder if it cuts. Let's see if it's sharp. There we go. Got a piece of this thin phone book paper. I mean, whoop, whoop. Very sharp, so slicey monster of a knife. Very slicey. So let me tell you what I paid for it. Price and availability. So White Mountain Knives has this exact knife, titanium, carbon fiber inserts onto the titanium scales, 14C28N. They have these for about $68 with a 10% off code, and you can find one of those down in the notes below. Just click more and you'll see a link for them, and you'll see the discount code. There are also several auctions running with DWin and secondary markets. So, these are easy to find. And now, that's as of today when I'm filming this. This may not actually run for a couple of weeks on my channel, but I don't think you're going to have any struggles finding these. I paid at a live auction, I paid under $50 for this knife on a live auction. So, yeah, I appreciate you watching.